Welcome back to the Home Path Podcast. This is Rafael. And in this episode, we're going to talk about how to get pre-qualified and why it's your secret weapon. So one of the reasons why you want to get pre-qualified is because before you go look at a home, you should take the first step to save yourself some time, not just yourself, but everybody else involved. I can't tell you how many times, and I don't know where this started. I really don't. But since the beginning of time, if you're going to buy a home, you would go talk to the realtor, go on the internet and go find a home. You tour it, you like it, and it's currently for sale. So you're going to submit an offer. But guess what? You don't have the amount of money, or most of the times you may not have the actual cash to buy it, and you're going to need financing. And you fell in love with the home, your wife fell in love with the home, but guess what? The numbers don't make sense. And a lot of times you're just doing this to yourself. It's self-inflicted, because the first step should always be to look at the numbers and seeing how much you can afford, because everybody chose a different career path. So therefore, we're all at different levels, right? And first, you have to know exactly what you can afford. So by the time you start looking around and you do fall in love with something, you know that you can afford it. So I used to work in car sales 10 years ago, and I used to show people different cars. They would test drive it, and sometimes we would go back and forth for hours. And then by the time we pulled a credit report, it was like a 400 FICO, currently late on everything. And a lot of times we both waste a lot of time. And the client would obviously know that, they have, a really low credit score. And it's nothing wrong with having a low credit score, but at least we need to know the numbers where you are at. So the first thing you have to do in order to get pre-qualified is you have to understand the difference, because a lot of marketing tactics have been put out there to say, hey, get pre-approved, get pre-qualified. There is a difference. Pre-qualified means that someone like our team looked at your financials and ran it through a system and gave us an automated pre-qualification, meaning based on the information that you said, and if accurate, we are giving it its light blessing. And, there's going to be something, once it gets into underwriting, that underwriter will always say, hey, this is approved with conditions. And conditions are not bad. They're normal. They just means, look, we need an updated pay stub, an updated bank statement, a letter of explanation. Why did you deposit, $6 million into your bank account in cash? Like, we need to know all this stuff. So a pre-qualification, it just means that we looked at it, and based on the information given, we ran it through a system, and even the system thinks it's good to go. A pre-approval is when you submit an offer, and we submit that offer with all of your documents to the bank, and they present it to an underwriter, and the underwriter will give it an approval with conditions. So only an underwriter who is going to be part of approving the loan can give you a pre-approval. And a pre-qualification is not a guarantee. It never is. So a lot of times people get it confused that because they are pre-qualified that they're approved. And a lot of times there could be things that come up even in the middle of the transaction that weren't disclosed, right, in the middle of the pre-qualification. And I'm doing my air quotations. I know you can't see me right now, but I'm doing my air quotations. What a pre-qualification is and a pre-approval. Think about it this way. When you open up your mail and you get all that junk mail from one of the largest banks that says, hey, you're pre-approved for a credit card, you're not really pre-approved. And how do they know? They haven't looked at your credit. They haven't done anything. Well, kind of wrong. The big credit bureaus, what they do is they sell your data to these banks. And that's why these banks have your first name, your address, and they haven't really looked at your credit score. They just bought a bunch of data. They just said, hey, give me the names and addresses of male or female between the ages of this and that, and we're going to send them a pre-qualification or pre-approved letter. And then you still have to apply to get that credit card. So even when you do that, it's not a guarantee. You don't just get a pre-approval. How do they know all this information? It's because it's being sold out there. So remember, there's a big difference between pre-qualified and pre-approved. So when you get pre-qualified, if you haven't listened to the previous episode, you might want to do that to see what we need to take a look at. But the first thing you need to do is start the process of turning in your documents, all of your income, and also pull your credit report so we can determine if you are pre-qualified. And the first thing you'll need to do is go to mortgageloanapplication.com, www.mortgageloanapplication.com. It's going to pop up with a link. You're going to create a login and password. You're going to start the process. And then you're going to turn in your documents and see how much you can get pre-qualified for. And the reason you want to do this is because then you can go and look at homes comfortable. You can go talk to a realtor. You can interview them. You can work with them and say, look, I have a pre-qualification and here's a lender. Here's the pre-qualification letter. I've already turned in all my documents. And the reason you want to do this is because you have to work with speed, because these homes are listed and you're not the only one trying to make an offer. So what happens is that by the time you actually start turning in your paperwork, somebody already saw the house and is making an offer ahead of you. And the last thing you want to do is not be prepared and miss out on a great opportunity because you didn't take the right steps. You did everything backwards. Like I said, I really don't know where this started, but it's not it's good to daydream and look at homes, but if you're serious about doing something, first thing you have to do is look at the numbers and get a pre-qualification in order to do that. So there is a difference between the two. And the first thing you have to do is talk to someone, or even, with our team or whoever, but at least get those numbers and get the pre-qualification. So when you go out there, you can negotiate and say, look, here's all my documents. Here's all of my money for my down payment. It's already seasoned. Here's my bank accounts, and I'm ready to go. And they're going to take you a little bit more serious because you are someone that's ready to go and ready to make an offer. And with time kills a lot of deals. It really does. That's one thing over the years that I have learned, is that the more you give it time, the less it's going to happen. So if you're really thinking about making something or having something this year or in the next coming up year, the first thing you have to do is make sure you get pre-qualified and you're turning in your documents, because the last thing you want to do is just wait till the very last minute. And like I said, you're not just wasting your time, you're wasting everybody else's time involved, even the sellers, because they're thinking that you're ready. And if something happens, at least you know that you're pre-qualified for that amount, or you maybe need a cosigner, or maybe you need to do something in order to get to that point. But at least that is the most productive thing that you could do in order for you to show everybody that you're serious. So I will see you guys on the next episode. We'll talk to you soon.